In need of a great contractor in northern Butler County? Then turn to JDP Home Performance Contractors, LLC. Created by Jake Daly and Josh Price, JDP Home Performance Contractors has an expertise in all...
Whoop. Let's try that one again.
In need of a great contractor in northern Butler County? Then turn to JDP Home Performance Contractors, LLC. Created by Jake Daly and Josh Price, JDP Home Performance Contractors has an expertise in all aspects of home building. They have dedicated themselves to building a reputable, committed, detail-oriented company that gives homeowners the quality of work they deserve at a price they can afford. Find out more at facebook.com/JDP Home Performance or call them today at 724-525-7180.
Need plumbing, heating, or air conditioning services in Western PA? Then call Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning in Clarion today at 814-226-8695. At Luton's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, we believe that a service-oriented business like ours should give you quality care and a quick response time. That's why we stand on our promise, offering you reliable 24-hour service that gets your job done right when you need it. We can also be found on the web at lutonsplumbing.com. Again, that number is 814-226-8695. Hi, Chris Rossetti here from D9and10sports.com. I wanted to take a second to tell you about one of the best restaurants in all of Western Pennsylvania, the Allegheny Grill in Foxburg, PA. With indoor and outdoor dining, you can enjoy prime rib all weekend long, or perhaps it is their full wings served on Thursday wing nights that you're after. From celebrating a special occasion to hanging out with family and friends, the Allegheny Grill in Foxburg is the place to be. As they like to say, you come for the food and you stay for the view. Reserve your table today at AlleghenyGrill.com. Hi, this is Chris Rossetti from D9and10sports.com. If you're like me, you may have experienced some aches and pains like a sore back, a stiff neck, or a wonky knee. Well, I've got the place for you. The Rehab Center with 6 convenient locations, including in Brookville, Clarion, and Katanning, is the place to go. The friendly staff and knowledgeable doctors will get you back in the game quicker than quick. I know, I've been going to them since 2009. So the next time your back, neck, knee, shoulder, or anything else acts up, call them for an appointment at 724-478-1501.
All right, guys, welcome into our District 10 Wrestling Championship preview. I am Andy Close for D9and10sports.com, joined by Don Schaefer and Matt Gill. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me, Andy.
You bet. Thank you for having us.
Well, guys, let's jump right in, and we have some breaking news that just came across this morning, so I'll let you guys talk about that.
Yeah, it's something we talked about. We did an interview a couple weeks ago with District 10 Wrestling Chairman Steve Hoover. Something we brought up in that interview with Steve was the consolidations that are happening in District 10 could come back to bite us in the hind end someday. And we learned today that, in fact, did happen, as it was announced that District 10 will lose its third qualifier for the team championships. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that that's what definitely happened. We said that it was going to happen. A lot of people have said that, well, we think that the merges would be okay to do. It's not the fact that merging is okay, because it's really taking and downsizing our programs. And what the problem is, the first problem is the numbers in the sport. We have to change that. We got to get better, with all these forfeits that are happening. Don, we've talked about this several times, and I just feel that that's where it starts. And the more that we merge, the worse it's going to get. And
yeah, I think consolidation's a two-edged sword, Matt. Maybe it helped a little bit reduce the forfeits, but what it did at the same time was cost us a qualifier for the state championship tournament. I mean, there's no other word that comes to mind except unfortunate. We knew it could happen. I don't think we thought it would happen this fast. That extra qualifier out of District 10 now has gone to the WPIAL. They now get 4 teams qualifying for the postseason rather than 3, and we go from 3 down to 2. So, I mean, when you look ahead, I mean, I guess that's the next obvious thing with General McLean coming down next year. You're going to have General McLean, Fort LaBeouf, Sagertown, Reynolds. You're going to have more than 2 really good teams in District 10.
Yeah.
And, it's just going to be a matter of proving yourself on that day. There's already people out there already commenting we need a true second. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's wishful thinking at this point. It's just unfortunate because we do have a good track record of strong performance at the PIAA championships in District 10, but the PIAA looks at it from purely a mathematical standpoint. We have less teams in District 10 now compared to other districts in Pennsylvania, so we come out on the short end.
And that's just it. I mean, the third place team this year moved on to the state tournament. I mean, Corey. And just imagine if that would have happened this year where we'd only had the top two, And so it's just unfortunate with the way that's going to go. But we got to get better with the numbers. It starts with the numbers. And I've talked to all the teams. You got to be kind of like Jimmy Mulligan, right? From Sagertown. You got to go into the hallway. You got to grab the kid. You got to say, hey, you look like you would be a great wrestler. Get him in the wrestling room and get him to wrestle. And that's what's got to happen. These coaches got to get in there. They got to grab kids. I know it's hard if a coach is not a teacher or doesn't work for the school district. It does make it harder, but we got to do a better job, folks, getting more wrestlers involved.
And that's sad, but it doesn't diminish from the fact we're looking forward to the District 10 championships this weekend.
That's right.
I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. That's just so fresh because it just happened this morning. So that was on our minds certainly this morning. Yep. But looking ahead to the Sharon High School Friday and Saturday night, the District 10 AA teams will be there. AAA tournament is tonight, actually. And Matt, you guys are going to be there, correct?
Yeah. So tonight we'll be live at Meadville High School for the finals. We'll go on at 7. Wrestling starts at 7:15 slate time, and we're going to do the finals. There's going to be some great matchups, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. We're closer to the end of the go.
Yep. All right, guys. I do want to get started in AA. As you said, the main event Friday, Saturday. Sharon High School. It's going to be just an electric atmosphere as usual. And let's get right into it at 106, guys.
Yeah, pretty easy. You've got a number 1 ranked kid in the state, and Louis Gill from Hickory. He's been there. He's done that. He's a returning state champion. I think the first 4 weight classes, we probably have clear-cut favorites to win those weight classes. There is other talent at 106 pounds. Of course, Carter Beck from Sagertown, a freshman, has been very solid. Had a chance to watch him a couple of times. He's your champion out of the north. I'm not sure he's on Louis Gill's level just yet, but I do sort of expect those two to progress to the finals. But the really interesting thing, Matt, maybe you can talk about, is of the 14 entries at 106 pounds, 5 of those are females. And I find that just enchanting, for lack of a better word.
Well, out of those 5 females, 4 of them are wrestling each other. So you got Sierra Chessa and I believe the door flinger girl from Slippery Rock. You got Madeline Enterline against Andy Sebastian, which I know very well. And so that's going to kind of make things interesting to see, maybe it could be kind of like a preview of maybe how girls wrestling could really look. But I think that's what the really most interesting thing that's happened at 106 right now, looking at the brackets for sure.
Yeah, and when you just look at math, I mean, you're taking 8 qualifiers out of 14 wrestlers.
Yes,
there's a really good chance some of those girls are going to be able to move on. So it'll be interesting to see how many, how well they do.
Yeah, I agree.
I can foresee
it's the top 8, like you said.
I can foresee Chessa and Gill maybe in the semifinals, possibly.
I mean, I don't count her out. I mean, when I was able to see her last week at Meadville at the District 10 Section 1A finals, I mean, she beat Lance from Cochranton. A lot of people doubted that she could do it, but she did it. And at the end of the day, can't count her out. I've known her since she was little wrestling, and she's just been phenomenally a great wrestler through the years. And she's really got her head on straight.
Yeah, and before we jump to 113, guys, I do want to get your perspective on the thought and just the growth of girls wrestling here, in Pennsylvania.
Well, there's actually some news on that came out yesterday. The PIAA recognized girls wrestling as what's called an emerging sport, which is sort of the first step towards recognizing girls wrestling in Pennsylvania. So I think that's a movement that's gaining momentum, and we saw the PIAA address it yesterday on a step one kind of basis. But that's what had to happen to move it forward. That ball's been pushed forward. I think, honestly, I believe it's a matter of time at this point.
Yeah, one step closer, just as Don just said. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to take a little bit longer. I'd say maybe a couple more years. That's what I'm thinking. But the PIAA wants 100 teams to sanction, and it's going to be a challenge. But hey, Mercer, before we interviewed Steve Hoover, Mercer down in his school, they didn't think that they would probably have a whole lot of participation, and they had 18 girls show up to the meeting, and there you go. So give it a try. If you're a high school or, whatever school you are, give it a try and, see what happens. See how many girls will be interested. You don't have to have an experienced girl. They can be a first-year wrestler. I mean, look at Cannon Mac and look at the Crawford County girls. A lot of them are first-year girls that have never wrestled. So it's a good plan moved forward.
Yep, and certainly looking forward to the continued growth there as well. And let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket at 113, guys. What are you looking at there?
Don?
Me again? I went first. That's all right. I'm ready. A clear-cut favorite in my mind, Hunter Robinson from Sagertown, number 4 in the state. He's the man at that weight class as far as I'm concerned. Coming off the top half, probably Hunter Geibel of Commodore Perry, who was your South Section champion. There's some other, I like to call them snakes in the grass in that weight class, as you will. Some people who are capable of jumping up and biting people. But I do think Hunter's your man at 113. Very good. Look, he coulda, woulda, shoulda maybe been a state champion last year. He beat Louis Gill 2 out of 3 times, just didn't do it in Hershey. So he's that good. I think he's probably still maybe a little bit angry about that, not winning it last year. And I think he's probably a young man on a mission. I see him doing very well, not just this weekend, but on down the road as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hunter Robinson, I would totally concur. I think that he's the guy to beat in the upcoming, tournament here. I think 113, clearly Hunter Robinson takes it. There's no other way that anybody can really compete at his level, in my opinion. So that's who I have as well.
Will Robinson, the clear favorite at 113. Guys, how about moving on to 120?
Your turn, Matt.
Oh, my turn. Okay.
Yeah,
120.
come on.
I think I'm going to – well, there was a little bit of delay there for a minute. 120, I really got to say that Hunter Gould. I mean, he just really has had a terrific career. And I think that if anybody really has a shot at doing it, it's really Hunter Gould. I mean, you had a chance to interview him, Don, and I just think that I don't know if there's anybody that can really step into his realm, but there is Jake Bennett from Fort LaBeouf, Hershelman, Owen Hershelman that beat Jake in the semifinals to move on. So my thought, though, I think Hunter Gould would probably win it. That's my thought.
I agree. He's ranked number 8 in the state. He's undefeated. He beat Chase Bell in the finals down here last week in the South Section 3-1. It really was not as close as that score sounded. He rode Bell tough throughout the period. Bell really wasn't close to scoring or getting out off the bottom. Very dominating. He's a very physical young man. I don't see anybody really challenging him either. The matchup that I'm looking forward to most probably at that weight class comes in the quarterfinals, Matt, where you mentioned one of the names is Bennett from Fort LaBeouf, and he's going to wrestle Chase Bell from Reynolds. And they wrestled a couple times in the postseason last year, and Bell won close matches. Bennett beats Bell in the dual match earlier this year. So those two are I think they're 2 and 3 in the all-time series. That's a great quarterfinal round matchup to see who might progress out in that bracket. and maybe get a chance to move on.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think on the other side of the bracket, Herschelman, looking at probably taking on maybe Nasir of Grove City and advancing. So he's going to have the winner of that tough match right there with Bennett and, what you just said with
Bennett
Bell.
and Bell. Yeah,
Yep.
I think both of them can probably wrestle with Herschelman. I mean, Herschelman opened my eyes a little bit at the District 10 team duels. Jimmy Mulligan stepped him up in weight class, and he got a big pin against Reynolds at 132. And then he turns around, wins a section title. So he's on a roll. I don't doubt that. But I think if somebody might come after him, I don't see anybody coming really after Hunter Gould. He's been impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. He's on a different level, no doubt.
So there.
All right, 126. Matt, what do you have there?
Sure, 126. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. For sure, I got to say, and it's just not because I'm a Fort LaBeouf guy, but I think that JoJo Sebastian wins it pretty handily. I mean, he'll definitely have some challenges with possibly Trenton Rogers, which has a shot down the road, maybe at States. He's wrestling a tremendous season so far, in my opinion. But I do have JoJo moving on. Now, I'm not saying Ruberger wouldn't give him a great match, but that's my pick for the championship, and I think that he wins the District 10.
I concur. Number 4 in the state. He's going to be tough to beat. Look, he's been impressive from day one as a freshman. Just very, very solid. Doesn't make mistakes. Pretty physical for a sophomore, for a young man. Alex Ruberger from Sharpsville, one of the highlights of the section tournament last week. You know how crowds love to shout "two." They were yelling "Roo" when he was winning. So watch for that from the southern section crowd. People were getting into it, not even just Sharpsville fans, but whenever he scores a takedown, listen for that "Roo" from the crowd. Pretty neat, and he's a pretty tough little kid. He pinned Rogers in the finals at the sections, which was a bit of a surprise for me too. But he had a great tournament. But look, you got to do it again. Last week was last week, so you got to march on. But he was impressive last week. A lot of fun. The crowd was into it. But I think JoJo's your guy at 126.
Yep. All right. So another consensus: JoJo the favorite there at 126. And jumping ahead here to 132. We're kind of running through these. Giving you a quick breakdown of each. I think it's Don, is it your turn to start at 132?
All right, sure. So I think this is our first weight class where maybe there isn't just a clear-cut favorite. I think I look for Lazar and Martinek to go to the finals in that weight class. And this is actually a really intriguing matchup to me because these two wrestled a couple times last year, and Martinek just handled them twice. Beat him by tech fall once, and then major decision. But 2 or 3 weeks, or about a month ago it is now, I guess, at the Mercer VFW tournament, Lazar beat Martinek in a very close match. So that's a huge jump from 1 year to the next, where the kid's tech falling you, and you come back the next week or the next year and beat him. So I think Lazar is ranked just a touch higher in the state. I think he's like 13th, and Martinek's like 18th. So these aren't super duper potential state place winners, maybe, but a very, very competitive weight class. There are, if I'm still talking, there are a couple other good kids in there that I wanted to give a shout out to. Cody Miller's a good wrestler. And so Nate Stearns has always impressed me. I think he's a good young wrestler. So there are other wrestlers there who can certainly make some noise.
And I think, Brody Beck will make some noise from Cambridge Springs. He had a nice tournament last week, and I could see him, maybe, making some noise as well. But, I have to agree with you. I think Lazar from Commodore Perry, I think handily he wins it. I was able to broadcast his match against Greenville this year, and he looked really impressive. Probably one of the few that Kevin Drew will have from Commodore Perry to make states. But boy, he is on a roll this year.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out to him and a sophomore. And Andy, if there's kind of a theme in District 10, we've got some good seniors, but last year's freshman class made a lot of noise in District 10. Yep. They're now sophomores. They just continue to impress. There's some really, really talented kids in that sophomore class, and Wyatt's one of those young men.
Yeah, certainly a lot to look forward to there with that sophomore class and that weight class at 132. Let's jump ahead and take a look now, guys, at 138.
I got an asterisk by this one.
Definitely.
This is it. I mean,
this is the best weight class. No, hands down.
189. I mean, you got number 2 and number 3 in the state. Connor Pierce, of course, of Harbor Creek, kid who's been there, done that, trying to become a 4-time state medalist. And Connor Saylor is ranked 3rd in the state. And I got to tell you, Connor Saylor was a good wrestler last year. Connor Saylor is so much better this year. He's more physical. He's better on his feet. He's better on the bottom, and he's better on top. He's improved in leaps and bounds. I know those two met earlier this year. I think it was a 3-1 or 3-0 match in favor of Pierce.
It was actually a 6-0 because Dan and I broadcasted it at the Hickory Finals.
Okay.
It was
so they have wrestled this year.
They have. Yeah.
Yeah. Pierce the favorite, but again, probably. I mean, the one at 189 we're going to talk about too, but this potentially could be the marquee match of the tournament.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it is just going to be phenomenal weight class. I mean, even some of the kids that aren't even at these kids' levels. I mean, you got the Hunter Savitz kid from Corey. I mean, he is looking really tough. I mean, he's going to move on to bigger and better things. I believe he committed to Penn State Barron, and he had a nice tournament. Steve Martinek, also a good wrestler, one of the twins from Cochranton. But yeah, Pierce, he's on a different level, and he's about to make history, guys.
Yeah.
The first 4-time PIAA state medalist in Harbor Creek history. Jeff Catrabone was a three-time, but a 2-time state champion. So, yeah, history could be in the making. But Connor Pierce is the favorite, but don't count Connor Saylor out, because he is actually definitely better than back in December when it was the first tournament of the season. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. A couple other names from the South. Riley Neeland from Greenville is a very good wrestler. And a freshman from Grove City by the name of Cody Hamilton really impressed me. Keep an eye out for that kid. He looked really, really good at the Southern section last weekend.
All right, guys. So a loaded weight class there. Looking forward to a potential Pierce-Saylor showdown at 138. And let's jump ahead now and look at 145.
I can't say any more about Story Buchanan. I mean, the kid is just like an acrobat. He's like a kid that must have done gymnastics when he was like 5 or 6 years old. I mean, a kid shoots in on him. He's able to kind of do a funk roll, spin around, get behind a kid with no problem, and the kid doesn't get the takedown. And you think that the kid did get the takedown. Well, that's what happened this past finals match. And he was able to do that against Fountain and came out on top. He is Gerard's. I just talked to Coach Jason Johnson yesterday. He is definitely Gerard's one of the 2 favorite to get the states for Gerard. He can do it. He's just 100% better than what he was last year when I broadcasted him. I mean, from a kid that's just going to districts, now you're a section champ and you got a great seed going into it. But he's got Carter Gill from Hickory. And Carter just committed to Buffalo and going to wrestle for John Stutzman up there. And I think that Carter is really wrestling good. I was really shocked. I don't know about you, Don. Were you shocked that Carter dropped to 45 and started out, 160?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty dramatic weight cut in this era, especially. That did surprise me. I think he's found a home there. Now that he's there, he's comfortable there. And just a quick observation, because I've watched Carter a couple times this year. He is just wrestling with so much more confidence than what I've ever watched him wrestle with in the past. In the last couple years, he had these great matches with Caden Berger of Reynolds a couple times in the district finals. You may recall some of those matchups. And Carter was a kid that was kind of scrappy and kind of funky and kind of energetic and all over the place. Now he is just like methodical, sharp with his takedowns. He doesn't get in a lot of scramble type positions because he doesn't end up in scramble type positions anymore because he finishes his moves so much better. Yep. He's just become so crisp, so confident. He's a joy to watch, ranked number 5 in the state. I see him as a clear-cut favorite. No, I don't mean anything negative about the young man from Girard. I'm sure he's coming. But Carter is another guy who's kind of been there, done that. He's been in the district finals the last 2 years, has finished second. So I'm sure he really wants to get that gold medal this time around too.
How about Colin Summers? I mean, here's a kid from Sharpsville that last year he was a regional qualifier, and I said, this kid's going to make some noise in the next 3 years, man. And boy, is he ever. I mean, he looks really, really good. What's your thoughts? I mean, you were able to see him this past weekend.
Very good. And he was actually beaten in the semifinals by Cameron Klenke of Reynolds, who I would say is probably without a doubt, Reynolds' most improved wrestler from last year. Cam Klenke has really putting it together. He beat Summers in the semis last weekend, opened up a lot of eyes, including mine. I was surprised. I didn't get to see the match firsthand, but I was a little bit surprised to see that score. But Cam Klenke is another name to watch in that bracket as well.
Can't count him out, right?
Correct. Yeah, he's improved. He's come a long way. I'll give him that. His conditioning is improved. He's very aggressive, strong, physical kid. He's going to give anybody he wrestles trouble.
One more kid before we move on. I think Travis Proper of Corey he had a good tournament, took the third at the Section 1 AA, and he looked really impressive, and he takes on McCrary of Grove City. So I think he's going to make some noise. But the most striking thing, he could meet Klenke in the quarterfinals for sure.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave Hayden Robertson of Greenville out either because he beat Klenke in the dual match this year.
Right.
And he deserves to be in that conversation as well.
Yep.
All right, guys. Sorry there, I cut out for a second, but let's jump ahead now to 152.
Don, go ahead.
This is maybe a step down from 138, but I think this could be a really good final at 152. The sophomore from Grove City, unbeaten, Hunter Homan, absolutely impressive last week. Not only defeated, but pinned Kane Kettering of Reynolds in the finals down here in the South. I see McChesney probably, he's your North champ and probably favored to get out in the other half of that bracket, although he could possibly face Kettering in his semifinal. That would be a really good match in my mind, an interesting style, an interesting matchup of styles, I guess, if you will, with Kettering being the tall, slender young man and McChesney a little more physical than that. Those are always intriguing matchups because tall, lanky kids, ask any wrestler, they always gave people fits when you wrestled a tall, skinny kid, and that's Kane Kettering. And, he's always got that cradle in his arsenal. He's always dangerous from really any position. That should be a great semifinal, but not a complete clear-cut favorite, but Hunter Homan of Grove City, again, one of these sophomores from this sophomore class, have been completely impressive. He owns a win over Carter Gill of Hickory, which I think put him on everybody's radar. It's like no more secrets from this kid. He's legit. He's the real deal. I don't see any weakness in his game. He's physical. He's aggressive. He's good in all three positions, and he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Hunter Homan is on a great level right now. He's focused. He's been out a lot this season off of his injury. I talked to Wes Phipps. Definitely one of their favorites to get to the state championships this year. Another kid that I definitely want to talk about is Clay Thomas, Don. Okay. He had a nice tournament. He would take on Kane Kettering in the quarterfinals if he's able to beat Ziegler of Franklin, and Kettering, beats Albert. So that would be a good quarterfinal match as well. But Connor McChesney, I do think he wins that other side of the bracket, and that's your finals right there, Homan and McChesney.
Now, one other name from the South section, Jackson Covell of Titusville, a freshman with 20 wins. You got to tip your cap to a freshman who can win 20 matches in one of those upper weight classes. He's done a nice job. He'll be a contender in that weight class to get out. Big matchup in the semis with Kettering and McChesney for sure. Definitely have that one sort of circled on my bracket. That'll be fun. And that'll be an interesting match too. We haven't talked about it yet, but in the team race, I mean, who's going to win some of these battles could really set up who's going to win the wars too, because Reynolds, Fort LaBeouf, Sagertown, Greenville, Hickory, all those teams are in the mix for the team race as well. So some of these individual matchups become extra important when you talk about a team race that could be decided by really a handful of points, to be honest with you. And I look for it to be that close.
Here's another couple wrestlers that I think that will be in the mix. Luke Gentilly, and I think also Gannon Jaquay. Gannon Jaquay is also a dangerous wrestler. You know, so he wrestled Connor McChesney in the finals, lost, but Eisenhower is really keen on him to try to make it to states this year as well, and definitely make his climb going to regionals.
Yeah, a kid like Luke Gentilly, they're just so explosive. The kids that have that ability to throw and toss and just score points so quickly, that's what I think of when I think of Luke. If he can hit a 5-point move and blow open a match that was close for 4 minutes. But when kids have that ability to score points in bursts like Luke Gentilly does, that makes him dangerous in these kind of tournaments for sure. And Andy, I just want to say I'm having a blast.
This is great. This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying just listening to you guys break this
we
down.
We love talking about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, obviously another great weight class there, 52. Homan, probably the favorite. You got McChesney, you got Kettering, you got Covell, Gentilly, Jaquay, just a lot to look forward to there. And I'd keep going on that, but I do want to move ahead here and jump ahead to 160 now.
Okay.
All right. So 160 is really interesting. I'll start with it because the biggest upset, I think, of the weekend for both sections is Ryan Welka beating Stetson Boozer. And that was the biggest upset. Nobody expected it. I know my co-host, Dan Albaugh, when we broadcasted the match, no way did we expect that. And Welka wrestled a tremendous match. Ever since he's dropped down to 160, guys, he is on his A game. He shoots in. He's got that double blast. I probably shouldn't say that because that's his game. But he is so dangerous. And he's just wrestling great. And I'll be honest with you, I think he'll have a rough time here. But I think, in the finals, he wrestles possibly Hearn. Maybe Vito Gentilly can make some noise, Don, with your guy. And then also maybe Lindell of Eisenhower. So there's some good wrestlers at this weight class as well.
Yeah, I have Colin Hearn as a slight favorite. He's got a little tougher road to the finals, I think, because he'll have probably Boozer in the semifinals. So he's going to have to win two big matches to get to the finals. And that makes it a little more difficult to win the thing when your road to get there is a little bit tougher. I do like Vito Gentilly a lot. I have him in my notes. He's been impressive. The thing that stands out to me, Reynolds went to this West Branch tournament back at the end of January, and Vito was seated 22nd. Think about that. He was seated 22nd, and he finished 6th. I mean, so he's a freshman that is very mature physically, big, strong kid. He's still gaining that experience stuff. He's got a very bright future, and he's got the kind of physical ability to keep him in these kind of postseason tournaments where sometimes your stamina gets tested and your conditioning gets tested. I think he's well equipped to do well in this setting. Another kid that's probably under everybody's radar, I'm going to throw out Mitchell Tingly of Commodore Perry. Another one of these sophomores who has just been injury prone in his first 2 years. He's a Lakeview kid / son of the coach, former coach at Lakeview. He is getting back into form. He's starting to really progress. And if he can continue to build off what he did last week at sections, I think he's in the mix, certainly to get out of the tournament as well. But probably a name that a lot of people aren't familiar with just yet. But keep Mitchell Tingly on your radar as well.
I want to kind of go back to Stetson Boozer before we move on.
Okay.
He is not going to forget about what had happened. Okay.
Sure.
So I do think that he gets to the semifinals, and it's him and Hearn in the semis, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get back in and win. That's
going to be a great match.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great match. So I will say this for Colin Hearn too, give him a plug in the section finals. That match started. Gentilly took him down. Yeah. Right off the opening whistle, Gentilly came out and took him down, and Colin Hearn responded like a champ. I mean, he came back and really just dominated the last 5.5 minutes of that match. He gave up the early takedown, and some kids will go into a hole when that happens, and some kids will get kind of ticked off about it. And Colin got kind of ticked off about it and came back and really wrestled well the last 3/4, 90% of that match. But when Gentilly took him down, I thought, oh, this could be interesting. But it ended up not being very interesting because Hearn just pretty much dominated the rest of the way. So I see Colin, very tough wrestler. That's going to be a great semifinal for sure. They're at 160 pounds.
Yep. Certainly a lot to look forward to there at 160. And let's now jump ahead to 172, guys.
Don, I'm going to let you go with this just because I know that you had talked about it to me earlier this week about the finals match. So I kind of want you to start with this weight class.
So I'm going to start with Jalen Wagner, and I know he didn't win sections. I know he lost to Covell last week, but Jalen Wagner is a defending District 10 champion. He did win this weight class last year at 160. He lost a tough match to Brock Covell. That was a match that could have gone either way. It was back and forth. There was a scramble at the end that went 2-2, and if it goes 2-0 instead of 2-2, then Jalen wins the match. So it was a great finish to a great match. Brock Covell, always been impressed with that kid. I'm not saying anything bad about him. He was good last year, right out of the gate. Again, another sophomore in this group of sophomores. Wagner and Covell, in my mind, kind of interchangeable. I like Wagner because he's won this tournament before, and I think he's hungry. I think he was disappointed when he didn't win last week. I'll leave it at that. I don't know what else adjectives describe it, but you are disappointed when you don't do what you think you should do. And I think Jalen felt like he should have won that match last week, and he didn't. That's over now. He's a defending District 10 champion, and it's hard for me to root against him. Now, Ty Holland is another kid from the South who's very good. Obviously, Covell and Cochranton's Glen Hill, though somebody's going to have to beat to get to the finals. So again, some of these guys got a really tough road just to get there. So you got to prove it, and you can't look too forward to, hey, Jalen can't be saying, I want to wrestle Covell again, because you got to take care of business before you ever get there. And that's the kind of weight class I see this at, where there's some real parity, if you will, some really tough kids. It's going to be a very interesting weight class. Again, no super clear-cut favorite. A lot of people probably say Covell's the favorite because he won sections. Well, Jalen won districts last year. So this one's wide open with lots and lots of talent.
And I want to go back to sections last week at this weight class, Don. And Ryan Miller was the number 1 seed from Seneca and was upset. Would you say upset? And was pinned by Gled Hill. And Gled Hill was able to move into the finals to beat Mason Savitz, which Savitz is another tough kid. But Gled Hill, I think he has his match, made out for him in the semifinals. And I think it depends on what he does in the semis.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly a lot to look forward to there, guys. Kind of a number of different guys that can win there at 172. And I know we kind of touched on looking forward to breaking down 189 a little earlier, But let's get right to it, guys, at 189.
Well, I'll start with that. I mean, 189 is just probably one of the toughest weight classes in District 10 right now. You got Landon Caldwell from Sigertown. You got Cole Karpinski, the number one guy in the state, and from Greenville. So those would be the two guys, the two favorites to definitely, everybody would say would go. But don't count Danny Church, as he's been nursing an injury. I won't say, but don't count him out, because just because he was, he won that first match and was to default and just to get into this tournament, Danny Church is going to make some noise as well. But Cole Karpinski, Landon Caldwell in the finals, and obviously I see Cole Karpinski winning. Don, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean there's no other way to say it, but this is a state caliber match. I mean, this is a Caldwell Karpinski match is a potential state semifinal, a potential state medal round matchup. These two guys are both extremely good, and similar in a lot of ways. In that, the one thing you're never going to see Cole Karpinski do is make a mistake. That kid is just in position every second of every match he's ever wrestles right now. I mean, he's gotten to that point. He's not flashy. He's not going to say, ooh, ah, wow, a lot when you watch him. But if you notice and you watch the subtleties of the little things he does all the little things right. And he wins matches. Caldwell, very similar. Caldwell doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It could be a low scoring match when two kids like that get together. But Karpinski number 1, Caldwell number 3. They're both in the game. That should be a tremendous match. Danny Church, if healthy, I'll put it in air quotes. If he's healthy, he's in that mix. He's at that next level. Now, I will say there is a pretty substantial drop off for after. I mean, those three are pretty elite. I would almost say top 10 kind of guys in the state. There is quite a bit of a drop off after those three, but those high level guys are going to make that weight class a lot of fun.
And I'll say this much about Landon Caldwell before we move on. He placed at the Powerade. It came down to really him and Danny Church to place. And I got to tell you right now, I am so impressed with him now. He is really a great wrestler, and he's going to make some good things happen this postseason before he graduates.
Yep, those guys are going to be, Caldwell, Karpinski, and Church going to be a lot of fun to watch there at 189. And looking ahead, what do you see at 215, guys?
Well, I see a weight class dominated by the North. To be quite honest with you, I don't know that the South has anybody that's going to stand up to Cale Black or Linkerhoff or even Keep at this point. Colin Wilson out of Greenville was your champion out of the South. He and Bryce McCloskey of Reynolds went to the tiebreaker periods in their semifinal. They were probably 1 and 2 out of that weight class. McCloskey came back and finished 3rd after losing to Wilson. They're probably the top two dogs out of the South. They're good wrestlers, but I don't think they're on the level of Black and Lakerhoff and even probably Keep at this point. I think that's a weight class that the North is going to dominate.
Yeah, we had a lot of good wrestlers. It really came down to 3 wrestlers right there. And the Keep and Linkerhoff match, everybody was really surprised. I was too, myself. But again, those two could see each other once again, possibly in the medal round or whatever, wherever they see each other. But Linkerhoff's going to be on a roll here. Yeah. He's on a tear, and he's not going to forget. So, yeah, Cale Black is on the other side of the bracket and of Wilson. And I think that he had a really good tournament. He was able to dominate Abe Keep in the finals in Meadville. And so I'd have to say probably it's between Black, Keep, and Linkerhoff to win it. And that's another one that I had a chance to talk to Coach Jason Johnson from Girard about was Abe Keep. I mean, he's so good off the bottom that it's just sickening how he just nobody can hold him down. And that's just where it's at right there. And he's dangerous. So,
well, if that's true, he's going to draw a lot of attention from college coaches, because I know that's something they love, and it's something you got to be able to do when you get to that next level as well.
Yeah, certainly a lot to look forward to there with Keep and obviously Linkerhoff and Black as well. And we're down to our final weight class, guys, in 2A, the heavyweights, 285.
go ahead, Don.
Yeah, so we got a couple state-ranked guys there, Perrine of Sagertown, and then you got Missouri of Sharon. Those guys are kind of in the mid-teens of the state ranking. So, again, we don't have that real high-caliber, guaranteed state medal winner kind of guy in this weight class, which to me makes it fun, makes it wide open. I will say, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here, but you got 5 wrestlers who are entered at heavyweight who have losing records, which is interesting to me. And then you got 3 more guys who are right around 500. So if you want to talk about parity and battling to become a regional qualifier, it might not be high level talent, but I think you're going to see some fur fly in that heavyweight weight class.
I agree. I mean, Perrine did a tremendous job at sections, but don't count Zach Baldwin of Girard out. Okay. He's our sleeper, I would say my sleeper in this tournament and in this bracket, because he took 3rd last week, but he's another Girard guy that they're looking at wanting to get in there to the championship. You got Xavier Raita, definitely had another good season. He's a senior this year. I think that he has a shot. So this is really going to probably be the top 4. I'd have to say Perrine, Missouri, and I don't count Lodge Nosco out. I know he's another one that's had a pretty good dominant season as well. So it's really up in the air. It's anybody's game. It's who comes to wrestle. You have to be prepared when you get into the postseason. And this is a tournament that it could be anybody's bracket who wrestles best.
I agree.
Yep. Oh, great stuff, guys. We're going to take a quick 30-second commercial break, and then when we come back, Matt, I'll have you break down, what we're going to see in 3A here tonight. So you're going to be there, and don't miss that. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the University of Pittsburgh at Bradford. We're not just any university, because you're not just any student. Just think about what you can accomplish in 4 years. No, scratch that. What can't you accomplish? Everything changes when you love where you learn, where the classes are small and the doors are open. It's hard to explain, but once you're here, you'll see. Ready to discover your path? Come love where you learn at Pitt Bradford.
All right, welcome back to the District 10 Wrestling Preview Show. And Matt, as I said, you're going to be there at 3A tonight, broadcasting that live on D10 Wrestling Facebook. Just give us a couple we're not going to break down each weight class, but just give us a couple of storylines to watch out for tonight.
A couple of storylines. I would start out with 106, Andy. I would say that, Keegan Oler, he's been state ranked, did drop out of the state rankings, but he is 3rd in the region. He is the favorite to win tonight in the District 10 finals, but the semifinal match to watch out for is 4th-ranked Ben Fuller of Meadville. He wrestles Teague Berger of General McLean. That's ranked 5th, right behind him. 25-13 record for Teague, and Ben has a 20-6 record. All 3 are freshmen, so they should all move on to regionals to Altoona. The biggest match, I would say, one of the 120-pound match. It's going to be Cyrus Hurd. He is ranked 3rd in the region of Cathedral Prep. He's a freshman, 9-2. He's kind of been injured and had some sickness throughout the season, but he wrestles number 2nd ranked Logan Salat and of McDowell. And the striking thing is both wrestlers are ranked in the state. Logan Salat's ranked 17th in the state, Cyrus Hurd 16th. So that'll be a good match. A couple of the wrestlers to watch out for again, Jake Van D. This will be his last hurrah in District 10 ever. So you folks that want to see him before he takes off to the Big Ten to wrestle for Nebraska, the state champion, he kind of suffered another injury this year, but he's back in it and he's ready to go for the individual postseason. Sam Staub, at 132, ranked 6th. Closely could be the favorite. He's a junior at 20-5. At 138, Hudson Spires of General McLean. He's a freshman, 21-15, the younger brother of Jackson Spires at Virginia Tech. And 145, another good match. How about this? 6th ranked 145-pound match. Stefan Lynch of Cathedral Prep. He is a junior, and he is 8-4 on the year. He takes on Logan Carrick of McDowell, which is 23-9 on the year. Logan is ranked 7th. So that's going to be a great matchup there. 152, Cayman Smith, a senior, having a tremendous year. That would be my favorite from Cathedral Prep. He's 23-2 on the year. Can't say any more. Another great matchup, maybe 160 that we'll see. Clay Mallory of Cathedral Prep, ranked 10th. In the region, he's 21-4, and he's also ranked 23rd in the state. And he'll be taking on possibly Caleb Butterfield, ranked 6th in the region, and then also 24th in the state. And Caleb is 25-7 from McDowell. He's a junior. 172, Ty Tidball from Meadville, the favorite possibly. He is the only ranked wrestler at 172. And then at 189, wow, this is going to be an interesting one. I'll start out with Griffin Buzzell. Buzzell is a senior. He's 17-2, ranked 5th in the region. He is, believe it or not, he is 6th ranked at 189 in the state. But he's got Jesse Stemka ranked number 7 from General McLean, a junior that's 19-6, who pinned number 8th region ranked Kellen Blossy from Cathedral Prep in that matchup in the District 10 team finals. If you just saw it, he is a senior at 16-6. So that's going to be an interesting weight class as well. And then also at 215, we got Troy Peterson ranked 6th in the region. He's a junior, 22-4, probably taking on Rowan Woodrow of Meadville, which is a junior, 17-7. And then to finish it off, the big-time favorite, which we will see him next year, Don, at 285. He's ranked 3rd in the region. He's ranked 11th in the state at 285. General McLean's junior, 32-4, Wilson Spires, the other brother.
Yeah, I got a chance to see General McLean wrestle down at the Hampton Duels way back in December, and I was especially interested in watching, Spires at heavyweight, and I didn't get to see him wrestle very long that day. He had a couple real quick pins, but he's an impressive young man. And I remember a couple years ago when in AA, he was even making noise in the heavyweight bracket back a couple of years ago. But just a question, Matt, because I know you studied the brackets closer than I do. Mm-hmm. And I know we all saw the results of the AAA team duels where General McLean was able to upset Cathedral Prep. Does Cathedral Prep have a full lineup entered into the tournament, Matt? How many wrestlers did Prep enter?
Yeah, they have a full lineup. Every single weight class is filled, Don.
Yeah, and I know that was a factor in the match that day. Prep had, I think, had multiple forfeits that day. We had a lot of shuffling around of weight classes in that dual match. Guys are going to be settled into their weights now. They're locked in, ready to go. And AAA, look, low on numbers, but still lots of talent out there to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Cathedral Prep, though, with the full lineup. Yep.
Okay.
Good to hear. Great stuff, guys. I'll ask you to kind of stick around here after we end the broadcast for just a second. But again, Matt, we can catch all that action tonight on the D10 Wrestling Facebook page beginning at 7:00, right?
Yeah, that's correct. 7:00, Hudson Harrison and I will go on, and we're just going to broadcast the finals, folks. And 7:00 is the Parade of Champions, as we'll go on, and then 7:15 starts the finals.
All right, guys. Well, great stuff. And I'll just, before we sign off, I'll give you, opportunity, just final thoughts. What are you looking forward to? Just final thoughts overall.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team race. I think it's going to be super exciting. I think there's 5 or 6 teams. Sagertown won the title in the North last week, and they had 5 section champions. I don't think they can have 5 District 10 champions, but can they get 5 to the finals? That might be enough to do it for them. You got a team like Hickory that has their studs. Greenville had a really solid team showing. Reynolds and Fort LaBeouf are always going to be factors at the District 10 tournament. I have an eye on the team race. I think that's going to be the most exciting, one of the most exciting things going on at District 10 this weekend is folks from multiple schools want to know what's going on with the team standings.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think also, though, it's who are the upsets going to be? There's always upsets in the postseason, Don.
Right.
And that's the question that they want to see who's going to be ready to wrestle. And obviously, I think that there will be some upsets this week. There always is. And it's going to be some exciting wrestling. Tonight, same thing. It'll be some great wrestling. I think the team race, obviously, most people say, well, Cathedral Prep is going to handily win it tonight. And then just like you said with 2A, I think, I liked what the interview that you had with Casey Taylor. Mm-hmm. And I like his thoughts on we have to fix the problem here. We didn't have a section champ, and I like the attitude. We're going to fix it.
All right, guys. Well, great stuff. Matt, Don, I want to thank you so much for joining me here, and I'm certainly looking forward to all the action starting tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
And then obviously .com.